Hi, I'm Chris Wardlaw for CarGurus, and this is the 2017 Subaru Forester. Now, Subaru's going to tell you that the Forester's redesigned this year, but that's not true unless you define the word redesign as a new grille, new front and rear lights, and new aluminum wheels. Otherwise, the 2017 Forester remains the box on wheels that people have come to know and love. Subaru has upgraded the compact crossover's EyeSight driver assistance technology this year and improved its Starlink infotainment system with Siri Eyes free capability. They've also enhanced both the standard and available equipment levels for most versions of the SUV. The company also says the interior is quieter and that the turbocharged 2.0 XT version, which you see over my shoulder, is more fun to drive. Naturally, I wanted to sample all of the improvements, so Subaru loaned me this loaded 2.0 XT Touring painted sepia bronze metallic, which is a new color for 2017. Let's go for a drive and see if Subaru's changes go far enough to keep the Forester faithful happy until the next redesign. Now, you can buy a Subaru Forester for $23,470, but you better be able to operate a manual transmission. Most people want an automatic at a minimum, and the Forester's continuously variable transmission, or CVT, runs an extra grand. Upgrades include premium, limited, and touring trim, and if you choose the turbocharged 2.0 XT model, your choices only include premium and touring trim. My test vehicle is the 2.0 XT Touring, and it's got everything on it, including the navigation and EyeSight package. The sticker price is $36,795. Now, you can push that price closer to 40 grand by liberally dipping into the Subaru dealer installed accessories catalog. And I have no doubt that lots of Forester buyers probably do that, what with their active lifestyles and all. The Forester's interior is a hodgepodge of functional design, modern technology, utilitarian materials, and in touring trim, upscale details. Now, there are several noteworthy benefits here. First, it is super easy to get into and out of a Forester because the seating hip point is at a perfect height, and the door sills are relatively narrow. You need not stoop or climb or step over a wide sill to get into or out of this vehicle. Second, outward visibility is extraordinarily good. Thin windshield pillars, tall, oversized windows, and huge side mirrors make whipping the Forester around a city, the suburbs, or wooded trails very easy. Third, the cargo space measurements might land mid-pack among compact crossovers, but because that area is cube-shaped, an owner can make maximum use of it. The Forester offers 31.5 cubic feet of cargo space behind the rear seat and 68.5 cubic feet with the rear seat folded down. Notably, the trunk provides handy switches that you can use to release and fold the rear seats down, and a height-adjustable power tailgate is new for 2017. Unfortunately, trunk lighting after dark is absolutely awful. One of the big changes for 2017 is additional soundproofing, along with acoustic laminated windshield glass and thicker side door glass. The goal is to quiet the Forester's interior, and I think the effort is successful. However, I also think I would have preferred that Subaru had spent that money installing soft material on the upper door panels and better padding on the center console armrest. It'd be nice to get some solar tint for the panoramic sunroof too. Open this shade on a warm and sunny day and you'd better prepare to bake, which is only going to draw attention to the fact that you can't get ventilated seats in a Forester no matter how much money you have to spend. Subaru does, however, offer two-stage heated front seats, a heated steering wheel, and most Foresters are equipped with heated side mirrors and a wiper de-icer system, so this SUV is ready to tackle winter right out of the box. Now, aside from the fact that there isn't a place to comfortably rest your arms, the Forester's interior is comfortable. The front seats sit up nice and high off the floor, and the rear seats can easily accommodate 3 kids or even 3 adults for shorter trips. However, given that even a top-of-the-line Forester doesn't have rear air vents or rear USB ports or even so much as a 12-volt power outlet, passengers might not remain happy for long. 2 versions of Subaru's Starlink infotainment system are offered for the 2017 Forester, and all but the base models get the upgrade to the 7-inch touchscreen display. Now, this upgraded version also features text messaging support, and this year it gains Siri Eyes free compatibility, but Subaru still isn't offering Apple CarPlay or Android Auto in the Forester. My test car has the top-of-the-line version of the 7-inch version of Starlink, And with that version, you get high-resolution graphics, you get a gesture control touchscreen, you get voice recognition technology, and a navigation system. Now this year, there's also a new EyeSight system that debuts in the Forester, and it's equipped with color stereo cameras that provide a wider and a longer field of vision. The result is exceptionally smooth and accurate operation, although at one point during my driving, a car had pulled onto the right shoulder to make a right turn, and the system recognized the car turning and started slamming on the brakes, even though there was no real reason to do that. The Forester comes with another new safety feature for 2017, and that is a set of automatic high beam steering responsive headlights. Now, the latter feature works beautifully, and on the dark streets of my unlit subdivision, it really helped me to see around dark corners. The automatic high beam assist, however, did not work in every situation where I would have wanted it to, and so that was a little bit aggravating. Now, no discussion of a Forester is complete without talking about its crashworthiness, and it remains one of the safest choices in the small SUV segment. However, it only gets a 4-star rating from the federal government for front passenger protection in a frontal impact collision, and that mars an otherwise flawless performance. Okay, let's talk about driving dynamics. If you're not interested in going fast, or you especially like the idea of owning a vehicle that's rated as a partial zero emissions vehicle, skip the Forester 2.0 XT in favor of the less expensive Forester 2.5i. If, however, you enjoy robust acceleration or you live in the mountains where turbocharged engines prove impervious to thinner atmosphere, the 2.0 XT model is going to be the way to go. This turbo 2-liter makes 250 horsepower at 5,600 RPM and 258 pound-feet of torque from 2,000 RPM all the way to 4,800 RPM. Now, that's not quite as broad a power curve as the best 4-cylinder turbocharged engines provide, a fact most evident in low RPM turbo lag, but this engine does get the Forester up to speed right quick, especially when temperatures are cooler. A CVT is the only transmission offering in the 2.0 XT, and depending on which Subaru intelligent drive setting you've selected, it provides either 6 or 8 manually accessible ratios that provide the driver with greater control over power delivery. The turbocharged 2.0 XT is supposed to be the sporty version of the Forester. In addition to more power and the SI drive powertrain modes, it gets paddle shifters. It gets bigger brakes, and they're ventilated front and rear. It gets stiffer suspension tuning. Subaru has even added a quicker steering ratio to all Foresters for 2017. And now the 2.0 XT Touring has that active torque vectoring system I told you about. Now, despite these performance-oriented upgrades, this is not the WRX of SUVs. Now, with that said, the Forester 2.0 XT does work well in urban, suburban, and rural environments, and thanks to 8.7 inches of ground clearance and its X-Mode traction system with hill descent control, it will go farther off the pavement than most crossover SUVs can. The ride is good on the highway, it does a decent job of soaking up crumbling pavement, it zips through traffic with ease, and it's super easy to park. In other words, the Forester 2.0 XT tackles the daily commute and weekend adventuring with equal ease, and the turbocharged engine adds welcome zest no matter where you're headed. Look, I get why the Subaru Forester is so popular, in spite of its boxy design and its boldly utilitarian interior. You can use and abuse one without caring too much about a scratch here, a stain there, or dents and dings everywhere. The Forester has a clear purpose, which is to do almost anything you want it to, no matter the weather conditions outside, and it brilliantly executes on its mission while delivering decent reliability, good value, and great safety. However, in my opinion, Subaru needs to further refine the Forester's details, and especially if it wants to convincingly play in the 2.0 XT Touring's price range. Be sure to check out my full review of the Forester on CarGurus.com, and if you found this review helpful, please share this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For all of us here at CarGurus, thank you for watching.